true, not everyone needs. Oh, thank you, Tom, for that recording. Where was I? We all want our children to succeed in life. It's true that not everyone needs to go to college, but in the information age, the need for post-secondary education is increasing. Few investments in your child's future or your own pay bigger dividends than a college education. But how to afford it when some of the schools cost more than buying a house? Gary presents some options at the start of a two-part series on paying for college. Paying for College, Part 1 by Gary Malkasian. Gary Malkasian, Part 1, Paying for College.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. There are few things that will enhance your earning potential more than a college education. And the biggest factor in how much you pay for college is where you go. And a quick shout out to fellow Huskies. Yes, that is quad at the University of Washington. And if you haven't seen the cherry blossoms there, you need to check it out this spring. These are the lessons I've learned both from my own experience, also as a dad with my daughter who wants to be a kindergarten teacher and just recently was accepted into UW-Bothell after finishing an AA at Bellevue College. So the topics I'm going to cover, this is going to be a two-part series this week, and then 4 weeks from now on April 27, I'll do part 2. The topics are: where do you go to school, tax credits, savings plans, scholarships, and financial aid. Today, we're going to concentrate on the first two, which is where you go and tax credits. And you may be thinking, I don't need to hear where to go. I already know community college is the cheapest. Not necessarily true. Let's take a look. A few caveats. I'm going to be throwing out a lot of numbers here. Most of the time, I'm talking per year. University of Washington tuition is $12,000 per year. I'm mostly focusing on the tuition costs. There are many other expenses. Those expenses don't seem to change that much when you go from school to school. It's all about $15,000 to $16,000 for room and board, no matter where you go. Now, obviously, if your child lives at home, that can be a lot more expensive because now you have to pay for counseling. Okay, just kidding. But other fees you might have, student fees, books, etc., usually $1,000 or $2,000 will cover it. And this is heavily biased towards the schools I know something about. Okay, that's obvious. So if you're upset that I don't say anything about Whitman, I keep talking about Whitworth, that's because Whitworth we actually visited. Most of the time when I'm throwing out numbers related to credits, like 45 credits in a year, 90 credits to transfer your AA into a 4-year college, I'm talking about quarter credits. And you can just do the math in your head and know that AA degree would transfer as 60 semester credits, and it's the same thing. Washington State Public Schools. Let's start here. The research universities, the premier research universities in Washington State are UW and Washington State University, in that order. Said the proud Husky, sorry. They're both excellent schools, of course. They're both excellent schools. And then you have the comprehensive universities, the regional areas, Central, Eastern, Western, and of course, Evergreen down in Olympia. Now, if you get into the UW, you have already gotten a huge scholarship. The real cost of putting your child through school or putting yourself through school is a lot more than $12,000. The cost of running the university divided by the number of students there is probably closer to what the private schools are charging. Also, the Northwest Indian College, I thought I'd throw that up there. That one is like $4,500 for tribal members. So these are all really good choices. And again, you can save about 25% if you say, well, I'd rather go to Western instead of the UW. And that's a perfectly reasonable choice. It's a very good school. Community colleges, you do know that they charge almost half of what it costs to go to a 4-year school, the public 4-year schools. But be aware that there are some caveats in that. What's really nice is there's a single location in which you can apply to go to any community college in the state. There's 34 community colleges. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but if you want to look at all of them, there's a link. I will share out this PowerPoint deck at the end of the speech. And you go to that one link that I've got there, the single online portal, and you can sign up for any community college. You can even sign up for multiple community colleges. Now, why would you do that? Why would you want to go to a community college in Spokane? That's impossible, right? Not if you're attending online classes. It's actually very doable. My daughter was signed up simultaneously to Bellevue College and South Seattle Community College and Centralia. Okay, she never went to Centralia. She never visited Centralia. It was all online because there was one class, children's literature, that she wanted that wasn't available at Bellevue. So it is a possibility you can do that. And here are some of the schools that are nearby. A few things about community college. Oh, Running Start. Let's talk about that for a second. Running Start is free college. If you're a junior or senior attending high school at a public high school, Washington State will pay for you to attend community college instead. If you get into the program, they will pay up to 15 credits if all you're doing is community college. Or if you want to go to high school and still do some fun things there, you can do 2 classes, 10 credits worth of classes at community college, and whatever you want to take at high school. And regardless, you can go to any of the extracurricular activities, sports activities that your high school has, and earning college credit as well as your high school degree at the same time. It's administered by the community college or the public high school. So even as an adult, if you're over 18 and you never graduated from high school, you can still get into this program. You go directly to the community college and you can work something out. Only classes numbered 100 above or are recognized. And so if it's level 100, that means it's a freshman level class. So if you need some remedial algebra, that's Math 99 or Math 98, that is not covered by the tuition that Running Start provides. You want to take that at the high school. That was where it really would be free. And I gave you a link to that. Oops, I think I went too far. Previous. Community college degrees. There's certificates, and there's a plethora of AA degrees. And it's a little bit of an alphabet soup figuring out what the different letters are, especially since different schools will have a different tradition of how they award these. So AA stands for Associate of Arts. ATA is Associate of Technical Arts, and you'll also see sometimes Associate of Applied Science. If you're planning on going to a 4-year college, you want to be looking at transfer degrees. And you'll notice 2 different ones, 2 different types. There is the -T, which is a transfer degree. These tend to be very specific, such as Early Learning and Childhood Education -T, AA-T, or the DTA, Direct Transfer Agreement, which is usually very general. Arts and Sciences AA-DTA. You might be thinking, oh, I already know I want to go into education. I should get the -T. And that would be wrong. I spoke with advisors from UW-Bothell, Whitworth, SPU, Northwest, both the recruiters and department advisors. And to a person, they all said, get the DTA, because DTA stands for Direct Transfer Agreement. If it doesn't have DTA, then there is no agreement. This is agreement between the community colleges and the 4-year schools on what's expected in the first 2 years. And they will transfer those credits as a block, either 90 or 60 if it's a semester system school. If you don't have a DTA, then they're going to evaluate each class, and some classes they may not accept. So it makes a difference. They can waive certain general education requirements if you have a DTA, and they can't do that if you don't. So it makes a difference. And a lot of community colleges are now offering what they call a Bachelor of Applied Science. These tend to be very practical-minded degrees that are really focused on some industry or job, such as nursing, IT, business. They tend not to be academic degrees like physics or English. They tend to be very focused on what's available as a job in the industry. Considerations if you want to go to a community college. It is a great place to go if you want to figure out what you want to do. If you don't know, like a lot of kids don't know, you can try a lot of different things. It's a lot cheaper to be trying out the classes at this level. And it's a great place to go if you didn't do so good in high school. It's a good place to rehabilitate your GPA. My daughter has learning disabilities. She's struggled with dyslexia and dyscalculia. She did not have sterling grades in high school, but she managed to get a 3.0 at community college. Once you have at least 1 year of community college on your transcript, the colleges you're transferring to will not even look at your high school transcripts. They care more how you're going to perform in college. So it's something to think about. You'll also notice there's a lot of ampersands in front of course numbers, and you'll wonder, what does that mean? Ampersand, you like that. That means that it's a common course numbering, that all the universities and all the technical colleges, community colleges have agreed that English ampersand 101 is going to have this course description, and it will transfer to other colleges. So it's very helpful in planning out your path ahead. I also want to point out that simply because you have all your credits transferred does not mean you've met all the program requirements. Now, you want to think carefully about this because not everything transfers the way you think it would. Even though they'll give you the 90 credits, you've got the DTA, the program you're transferring into might have very specific requirements for freshmen and sophomores. For example, if you want to be a psychology major, you will have to take Psych 101. You probably figured that out for yourself. You'll also have to take statistics, which is Math 205. Those are freshman and sophomore classes, respectively. If you don't have them, you'll have to take them when you get to wherever you're going. So it might be more than 2 years. Also pay attention. Now, many of these private colleges, and this may be the reason why you want the private college, is because they give instruction also in religious training, because a lot of them are based on some religious background, some spiritual Bible classes, things that this may be the very reason you chose. But think about what the requirements are. For example, if you send your child to SPU, they require 3 spiritual classes. But if you're coming as a transfer student, they waive 1 of them. If you're going to Northwest, they require 4, 1 for each year, and they waive nothing. So if you come in as a junior, you still have to take all 4. It's a semester college. That means that's almost a semester right there. So think about it. You can quickly lose the advantage you had in going to community college if you have to spend an extra year making up for the classes you don't have. There are 4 levels of requirements when you're going to a university. When you have a mammoth university like the University of Washington, it is composed of many colleges and schools. If you have a smaller college like Whitworth, it's basically 1 college. So the top 2 layers are compressed. If you have a college like College of Arts and Sciences at the UW, that has many departments, but the business school is really just 1 department. So the middle 2 layers are compressed. But no matter what your path ahead is, you've got at least 3 or 4 layers of requirements. The DTA operates at the university layer. The college or the school, they may waive some credits, certain classes. The degree program almost never does. They might. Sometimes it's open to some negotiation. But think about that when you're making this choice. Now, I'm going to show you some of these transfer guides that can help you. Most of these schools have transfer guides. I'm going to give you this PowerPoint, which has these links on it. Let's quickly look at them. Yay, that worked. Okay, here's the University of Washington equivalency guide. This is for you, not just UW-Bothell, but all the University of Washington. You can come here and then it's got all the different colleges. You say, we click here on Bellevue. Oh, look here, I changed tabs. Here's Bellevue. You go through the departments and you can say, okay, let's go to criminal justice and see, okay, here's the classes that will transfer. Some of them transfer as just a 1XX class, and some of them will actually transfer. Let's find a good example. Oh, here's one. This one actually transfers as a class that they have. So that's nice. You'll also find the similar things. Here is at Northwest. And if I can move this bar around, here is SPU. SPU, pick what school you want, or what state, and the school that you want, and you can look through that. And here is also Seattle U. Now, Whitworth is switching this year. They didn't have this last year, to Transferology, which is like a general place that you can go to compare lots of different schools. But that's really quite new. I also want to quickly point out the academic breadth. This is, again, program, department and program level. Even though you've got the 15 credits in social science, if you want to be a teacher at UW-Bothell, you have to be able to say, okay, yes, you took one literature class, you took one fine arts class, you took, one math, one of these two mathematics classes, life science, physical science, earth and space science. Okay, that's very easy to do if you're forewarned. So you need to be looking ahead at what you've got. And I am quickly running out of time, so let me just go to this slide. Western undergrad exchange. This is an agreement between the colleges, between the Western states, that they will try to give discounts to each other's students. Say, school in California, they agree that they may charge you maybe exactly what a resident charge, but they will not charge you more than 50% more. Space is limited. Not all colleges participate. For example, USC participates, UCLA does not. Here's some examples of that. You'll see California State University in Bakersfield. In-state charges you exactly the same for the WUE. University of Montana charges you a little bit more, $3K. University of Hawaii, it comes out pretty close. Yeah, and you get to go to Hawaii, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, you tell the kids, do not come home for Christmas. We're coming to you. And here are all the private schools. Now, you may be dropping your jaw looking at the wide breadth of this. This goes from like 19,000 at Heritage University to almost 60,000 at University of Puget Sound. Say, well, who can possibly afford this? These are the sticker prices. Almost nobody pays this. 90% of the kids in these colleges are getting scholarships, getting some kind of financial aid. If you're a CEO and you're making a multi-million-dollar package from your company, then you probably will pay full price. But most of us will not. And we'll talk about more about that next time when I talk about financial aid and scholarships. And we'll go through these schools almost all have what's called a net price calculator, where you put in your financial info, your grades, and you can figure out exactly how much you're going to have to pay. There's online choices. Online schools, Western Governors University has a $3,500 flat fee per semester for as many classes as you can pass in a 6-month term. That's a pretty cool deal. There's also a company called Straighter Line. They produce courses. Really, it's aimed at helping you get into junior colleges, into community colleges. But if you have a student who maybe you're kind of iffy about even sending them to community college, this is Straighter Line's a great place to wet your feet. Let's just try one course at a time and see how well you do. Online, again, as a proud Husky, it pains me to say this, but Wazoo has the best online experience. They have 21 undergraduate and 12 graduate degree programs. University of Washington has 2, okay? This giant school with all these degrees, only 2 of them you can earn online. It's pathetic. Another really good school, Arizona State University, has 300. And I'm going to skip forward a little bit to scholarships. If you are a barista, if you're working at Starbucks, ASU Online is free. That's pretty cool. There's also this thing called MOOCs, Massive Online Open Courses. Basically, it started with MIT and Harvard and Stanford putting all their course materials online. And then a bunch of other schools said, well, we'll do that too. So Yale did, then UW did, and all these other schools started putting their courses. Here's all of the lectures and all of the notes and all the tests so that anybody can access this. And a lot of people were putting together their own personal degree program. Then edX and Coursera came along and they said, okay, let's monetize this. Now, most of those schools pulled most of their content off of online, and now it's only available really through edX or Coursera. But MIT still has it all out there. It's still a great place to go. Also, a lot of great place to get some free textbooks. Tax credits. Oh, I'm almost at time. Tax credits. The American Opportunity Tax Credit will pay $2,500 back of your first $4,000 in expenses. That is 100% of the first $2,000 you spend and 25% of the next $2,000 you spend. You have to be a full half-time student. You can only do it for 4 years, and you can only do it if you don't already have a degree. If you don't already have a bachelor's degree, that is. So that is a big deal, and that is per student. Now you realize that community college is like $5,000. This is like half the cost of community college. So this makes it really, really affordable. I'll get on my soapbox really quickly and say, if the government were to make this fully refundable, that would really affect the lower income people, and you wouldn't need these expensive programs to make community college free that they're talking about, or that they tried to get through and didn't pass. Oh yes, and don't forget the laptop. The laptop is also considered in your expenses for community college, for any college, for that American Opportunity Tax Credit. This is especially important your very first year, when you only have the first 2 quarters that you'll be paying for on your tax year. Next time, we'll talk about savings plans, and I'll talk about scholarships and financial aid. And you may be surprised that you actually can afford to go to an Ivy League school if you can manage to get in. So let me just close by saying 75% of the jobs in the United States today require specialized knowledge or skills. That was only 5% 100 years ago. Today it's 75, and that number is growing. It's accelerating. By the time your kids are grown, I don't know what it's going to be. It's probably going to be closer to 100. Your child needs to be prepared for that. And in order to your child to be prepared, you need to be prepared. Join me next time when I talk about savings plans, scholarships, and financial aid. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Gary. A lot of great information in there. And in case anyone missed it, Gary will be making the slides available later. And if you are on the call and you don't, and I don't look muted. Can you hear me? No? How about now?
No, I can hear you.
That was very strange.
No, we could always hear you.
Toggle back and forth.
We could always
Thank you,
hear
Gary.
you. Thank you.
I'll repeat myself. Thank you, Gary. A lot of great nuggets in there. And for those of you who missed it, Gary will be making those slides available later. If you do not receive them within the week, reach out to Gary, and I'm sure he'll be happy to provide them. You can also, of course, check in next time, a month from now, for the continuation. Lots more great information to be had there. Okay, let's move right along here. Our next speaker is Ms. Katie Larson, and evaluating Katie's speech is, who is evaluating Katie's speech? That's Sharda. Sharda, can you please tell us the objectives for Katie's speech today?
Sure, Chris. The purpose of Katie's speech is for her to practice the skills needed to connect with an unfamiliar audience.
Perfect. I don't suspect Katie's familiar with everyone on this call, so we can check that box. And I should, Katie writes, by way of introduction, that she is in no way an expert on how to practice savvy shopping. Well, but I think she has something to say anyway. The skills presented today are skills Katie has observed from her family and friends. This speech will be helpful tips and tricks to save money and time while doing the dreaded chore of grocery shopping. Katie Larson, savvy shopping, Katie Larson.
I don't know about you, but I'm spending most of my money on food. So I have tips and tricks today to hopefully save you some time and money. First off, you're going to have 2 master lists that you're going to keep. One is going to be common items and their prices, good prices for those items, such as ground beef, chicken, pork, flour, sugar, eggs, milk, things like that. The second list is a list that you'll come up with your family of meal ideas. You'll have this probably on your fridge, so you don't scramble every week to meal plan. Every week, you're probably going to get this fun package in the mail. This includes the weekly ads to local grocery stores. So you'll take both your lists and your ads, and your app, because they'll have deals on the app that you don't have in the ads, and you're going to meal plan with your family. You'll plan the next week's meals. I like to plan meals that relate. For example, on Monday, I'll have roast chicken with mashed potatoes and corn. The next night, I'll have spaghetti. The night after that, I'll take my leftover chicken and make tacos. And the night after that, I'll take the leftover spaghetti and make a spaghetti bake. This allows you to use your leftovers in a way that your family might not complain as much. While you're planning your meals, write a shopping list and stick to it when you're at the store. People always tell you, don't go to the store hungry, and it's 100% true. But there are also a couple other tricks that I think will save you a bunch of money. Don't impulse buy. I know it's easy to walk those aisles and start chucking things in the cart, but if you really want something, take a lap around the store, and if you're still thinking about that thing that wasn't on your list, you can go back and get it. But most of the time, that thing's going to be out of your head by the time you go back. Stop, Phoenix. The other thing I've noticed is don't shop with kids, because kids do like to start throwing things. Please, Mom, can I have that? Please, Mom, can I have that? And by the end of the shopping trip, you have a whole section of the cart that's not on your list that will cost you extra money. If you find something interesting in the store, maybe make a note of it and plan to eat it in a couple weeks instead of adding it to the meal plan that you've already made. If you've had any training on nutrition, they say that if you stay on the outside of the store, it's more nutritious than the inside aisles. So we have the produce department, meat, dairy, the bakery. So that's a good tip in cutting out some processed foods that you can find in the middle. There's also usually discount meat section in the meat department. And if you're going to use that meat that day or freeze it up really well, you can keep that meat long past its shelf date, and that's why it's in the discount. The bakery and other departments also might have discount sections for you to look through. Did I mention don't ever shop without a club card? It will cost you probably double if you go into a store without a club card. It's super easy to sign up. They'll link your phone number within a couple weeks, and you don't have to carry it around in your wallet. I know that lots of people like Costco, but be careful. There are many times that sale items at a regular grocery store are actually going to be a better buy than when you go to Costco. And if you're anything like me, Costco is very, very dangerous. You will go in there and spend a couple $100 more than you went in there for. So if you can avoid that, that will save you money as well. Now, stores are very, very smart. They have really fancy price tags that have bright colors and save now, scan this deal. But there's also a little line on the price tag that can help you decide if you are going to be saving more money with another product. For example, it will say how much per ounce these things are or per unit. Buy your essentials in bulk, especially if they're on sale. For example, I use a lot of tortillas, canned tomatoes, items like that. If they go on sale, canned tomatoes for less than 50 cents a can, buy a whole box full of them and keep them in back stock. Also, use your freezer. Please, for me, at least use your freezer. My freezer is about as big as my laptop. So if you have a nice sized freezer, you want to utilize it. But better yet, if you can get a standalone freezer, it actually keeps food fresher because it's not fighting with the fridge for coolness. Use a vacuum sealer to store especially meats that go on sale because they stay just as fresh in a vacuum sealed freezer bag than in the store, buying it fresh. There's also a bunch of tips for keeping groceries, keeping goods correctly in the fridge to last longer, especially produce. So you never want to throw your produce in the bag that you take from the store because it's usually wet. You want to dry your produce off and put it in another container or just straight into the crisper. Things like parsley, celery, cilantro, you can actually put in a glass jar of water with like a plastic bag on top and a rubber band, and that will keep your produce good for up to a week or two longer than if you just chuck it in the crisper in that bag that you got from the grocery store. So along with these ads, they usually come with some coupons as well. Now, coupons are good, but keep in mind, it might not be the best deal. The coupons are usually brand names, and you can usually get the store brand at a cheaper price. So it's fine if you want to cut these coupons, take them to the store, but when you're in front of the item, make sure you're comparing the price to the ones that are there because chances are you'll probably get it cheaper without a coupon. I know I went really fast, but moving away from groceries, I wanted to talk about clothes. Oh, I am a big supporter of thrift stores. I almost have all my wardrobe from thrift stores. You can get really nice clothes for a third or a quarter of the price that you would get at department stores. And my last tip is if you have a big purchase that you need to do, like a fridge or a stove, a washer or dryer, be sure that you are saving up for that item. You are researching the good prices and waiting for those sales because a few times a year, there are going to be sales that you can get it cheaper than just running out right away and getting it. If you can wait, you should wait. Oh, I really hope that you take something away from all my tips and tricks and it saves you a little bit of time, money for the dreaded grocery shopping. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Oh, thank you, Katie. I thought I was a pretty savvy shopper, but I picked up a tip or two in that. And I hope many of the rest of you did as well. I can also think of a whole bunch of other tips, which if any of you felt so inclined, you could share in the chat. A reminder again, speakers and Toastmasters crave feedback. So whether you put it in the chat window as a private message or visible to everyone, or you just reach out to the speaker after today's meeting, I'm sure they would value your thoughts on how they could be more effective in their role as speakers and leaders, which is the fruit of being a member of Toastmasters. We're getting close to the end here. As is customary, I now call for reports from the various roles in our club. I'm going to, did I miss something? Oh, I missed the Q&A. Good gracious. Yes, well, there is Q&A. I have been monitoring the chat and I have not seen any questions posted on the chat that have not already been answered. If I've missed one,
Should I start the
please
timer
do.
now for the 5 minutes?
Go ahead, start the timer now, because we're running a little behind, so we might as well be on the clock. And I'm not going to talk any further. I would rather throw it open to any of you in the meeting who have a question. You can raise your hand and I will call on you. Or you can just unmute yourself and belt it out. I don't think we have a great cacophony of people all striving to ask questions here. So fire away. Who has a question for either of our speakers? And the sound of crickets was heard. Okay.
Ariana.
I have a question for Katie. Is the cilantro supposed to be inside of the fridge with a glass of water or outside?
Inside.
Okay.
There's a lot of items that actually last longer inside. Like, it's weird, but loaves of bread, if you keep your loaves of bread in the fridge, they'll last longer than if you leave it on the shelf.
Yeah, I keep my bread in the fridge too. Another trick for things like parsley and cilantro, if you don't have the time or the space, throw a clean paper towel in the plastic bag, and that will also help preserve its viability for extra days, maybe even a week.
I have a comment for Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, your presentation is very persuasive, but what I really like is that you did your behind the scenes research. For example, when you said, I reached out to such and such colleges and validated what I'm communicating to you. It just, you gain our trust and confidence when you do that kind of research. So applauds to you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I wasn't researching for the speech. I was researching for my daughter, right? I told her, let's get this education-T. And they convinced me, no, don't do that. We can waive all these things if you have this. And in the end, also using those equivalency guides, they help you decide which schools are going to align better with the community college you have in mind to go to. So I found that UW Bothell and Whitworth were the closest to Bellevue College, to having the most classes that lined up with what we want. Not that the other schools would have been bad choices, but you had to be aware. Like I said, it would have taken an extra year at Northwest, probably would have taken a bit longer at SPU as well. You know, she couldn't have just gone 2 years.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. Anyone else?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Well, I'll toss in one other shopping tip with kids. I noticed many people laughing as Katie was remarking on the challenge of grocery shopping with kids. The technique I used for many years was that I worked with them to make the list. And of course, they didn't really much care about the list. What they cared about was that cool thing they saw in the store. And the deal I made with them is, we're going to buy everything on the list, assuming the store has it. You can have one thing that you see in the store that's not on the list, and only one. And so if they pick a bunch of things, which one are you picking? You only get one. The only downside of this is, in order to set an example, I had to be very careful making my list, because I could only pick one more thing not on the list as well. So another tool in the bag for you. Okay, we're at 12:51. We've got time for another question or two. Another comment? Anyone have savvy shopping tips or advice?
I have a
on
question about shopping at secondhand stores.
Go for it,
Because
Dana.
I've had a lot of times where I've shopped and I end up with something that only lasts like 3 months. So how do you avoid that?
Oh, I don't know. I maybe research the brand that you're buying, I guess. I really don't know.
I think that's a problem for shopping in general
That's a good idea.
nowadays,
Yep.
especially as people become focused excessively on price rather than on value. I think research and thoughtful shopping is about the best you can do here. Companies will respond to the imperative of lower prices by cutting quality.
Yeah. Anyone thinking about community college?
I am.
Yeah.
I've already got a bachelor's degree, but I've gone back to Bellevue College twice to complete 2 certificate programs. And I must say that that was not only incredibly enriching, it was professionally useful. And I got a fair number of plaudits from my managers for the initiative in proactively expanding my knowledge. And lastly, of course, within a certain federally tax defined limit, I think it's around $5,400, PSE will reimburse you.
Right, right. And you will find that, and we'll talk about that more in the next session, but you'll find that all the employers that offer tuition reimbursement, they have this exact same dollar amount. How is that possible? Because that's how much they can deduct from their taxes. That's why it's set by the IRS.
Bingo.
They could certainly reimburse more, but it's not tax deductible for them. So it's all what, $54.25, something like that.
So if you wonder how your tax dollars are being spent, that's one of the ways. Okay, I see Ariana has the red background up. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, guests. Thank you all who asked questions or posted to the chat. Everyone who was involved and active in the meeting. That's what makes these meetings fun and valuable both. I want to move now to the call for reports, which I so